now. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending this webinar called Get Your APA Employees Recognized. My name is Fabian De Rosario, NAAAP National President, and I will be hosting this call with you. I am recording this call, so thank you for those of you who are listening on this recording. You may have heard recently that NAAAP has created a strategic partnership with the Asia Society. I will admit to you that many months ago, I didn't know much about the Asia Society, and I'm absolutely delighted that we have both come to be acquainted with each other. The Asia Society was founded in 1956, and it's a nonpartisan, nonprofit educational institution with offices in many cities globally. It is the leading educational organization dedicated to promoting mutual understanding and strengthening partnerships among peoples, leaders, and institutions of Asia and the United States, having a global context in the work that they do. And what we've found is some of the leadership work that they've done, in particular this corporate survey of APAs, is particularly relevant to the purpose of NAAAP in building leaders. And I'm so delighted that 2 months ago at our national convention in Dallas, Texas, both speakers who are on the call with you today, David Reed and Murray Bake, I am mispronouncing that, I apologize, were able to join us in Dallas, and so it's our pleasure to have them speak with us today. David is the Director of Global Talent Initiatives at the Asia Society, and Murray is also works with David in Global Talent Initiatives as a manager. And with that, I'm going to allow them to do a much more appropriate and complete introduction and to tell you more about the work that they are doing. With that, I'll pass this over to David and Murray.
Fabian, thank you so much for that, and I'm blushing because of all the great things that you have to say about us. But we also have a lot of great things to say about NAAAP, and it's just been a real pleasure working with everybody there. It just feels like we just kind of entered into big welcoming arms spread out for us as a family. So it's been a real pleasure. So. And thank you, NAAAP and Fabian, for hosting this call for us and for us just having this opportunity to share with your group on some of the great things that we're doing. And we look forward to doing the same for you guys in the near future as well. All right, so with that, just want to say welcome, everybody, and thank you for attending today's webinar. Today's webinar is titled Get Your APA Employees Recognized, and we'll be sharing some key findings from the 2015 Asian Pacific Americans Corporate Survey that Asia Society and specifically our Global Talent Initiatives team publishes annually, which is in our 7th iteration this year for 2016. So with that, hello, my name is Murray Bake, and I am currently the manager for Global Talent Initiatives, and I work, as Fabian mentioned, together with David Reed, who is now the executive director, promoted as of this summer, clap, 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 of the Global Talent Initiatives, and he'll be sharing a lot about the data and best practices from our 2015 survey, and as well on how to participate in the 2016 survey. Fabian just gave a quick overview, of course, about Asia Society, but just to follow up, we were started nearly 60 years ago. Next year will be our 60th anniversary for the organization. We were started by John D. Rockefeller III as a nonprofit and organization to foster mutual understanding for Asians and Americans cross-culturally, and through now our ever-growing network of 11 cultural centers around the world. We are a multidisciplinary organization focused on the arts, business, policy, and education. So lots of things going on. Within Asia Society, we're a team called Global Talent Initiatives, and we work with Fortune 500 level companies in studying and presenting on the latest trends and thought leadership impacting senior level human capital, talent, and diversity and inclusion leaders in corporate, civil, and academic organizations to help promote and better understand best diversity and inclusion practices. As you can see on the slide, we have Chief Talent HR diversity officers in the U.S. Together with another dozen across the Pacific and Asia as a principal advisory body to our work. So we are truly trying to stay global in our D&I space. Just a quick note, along with our corporate survey, we release our annual corporate surveys in tandem with our Diversity Leadership Forum. So our 2016 iteration of the APA Corporate Survey will be released next June 9th through 10th in New York. The first day will be at Asia Society, and the second day will be held at the Time Warner Center. And this is the forum is an opportunity for your emerging high potential leaders to come and get leadership coaching, training, and resources. During our Diversity Leadership Forum, we will also be honoring the best employers of Asian Pacific Americans and sharing that exciting ceremony with 250 corporate leaders. So for more information about the conference and sponsorship opportunities, please visit our website. Just a quick overview on how to participate today. We'll be answering some questions at the end. So if you have any questions about the survey, about some of the data points or anything, we'll do a quick Q&A. I believe because we have a small group, instead of doing a chat Q&A, we'll do a live voice Q&A. All right, so some of our objectives for today. David and I will be sharing some key facts and best practices in engaging Asian Pacific American employees through professional growth and market opportunities. And as you hear from both myself and David, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them at the end. But today, first thing is that we want to learn best practices on leveraging Asian Pacific American employees for business opportunities in the marketplace, specifically the Asian Pacific Americans marketplace, because it is such a growing market. Second is we're going to tell you a little bit about how to get your company involved in the 2016 corporate survey that was just launched last week, so it is now open and will be closing on January 21st of next year, and David will talk a little bit more about that as well as our awards process. So just a quick overview about the survey report and the survey itself. It's exclusively focused only on Asian Pacific Americans, self-identified. The only study that compares answers from HR with perceptions of the employees themselves. So the survey is a two-part survey with an employee portion and a company portion. The survey was also created in consultation with our Global Talent Diversity Council to make sure that we are focusing on areas of interest for both ends. And the survey is administered by an independent third-party research company, so this allows us to make sure that it's confidential, your data is secure, it's not being broadcasted or shared around to anybody and whomever. And with that, confidentiality is key. The aggregate data for all the companies who have participated is reported within our survey, but company-specific data is only provided to the companies themselves. And all companies who participate receive a top-line report of your data benchmarked against the aggregate. So it's good data to be able to see how you are doing compared to others. So today we'll be sharing our latest 2015 data, which is published annually. And based on the results of each annual survey, we acknowledge successful best practices from companies who are recognized at the Diversity Leadership Forum. If you're interested in seeing the executive summary from our 2015 report, it's available online at asiasociety.org/global-talent-initiatives. The full report is also available on Amazon. Okay, and with that, let me just dive quickly into some of our demographics for 2015. So in 2015, we saw an increase of about 35% in responses from Asian Pacific American employees. So that was a total of 2,551 responses. These responses came from self-identified APA employees in Fortune 500 companies from all different sectors, from consumer products to hospitality to all different industries. We do not release the total number of companies who participated, but the finalists for the awards who also participated in the survey are listed on this slide. In 2015, 41% of respondents were from East Asia and 38% from South Asia. 76% of respondents were identified as first-generation Asian Pacific American who were born outside of the U.S. About half of the respondents, 48%, are at a professional technical job level, and 40% are either a first level or mid-manager director level. But as you can see, only 3% are at the executive and officer level. So this actually is not a surprise, as we know that we do see a steep drop in APAs in C-suite level. Through this data, we see that the respondents reflect a highly skilled workforce. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to David to share some of the key findings from our 2015 APA survey. Just a quick intro, David Reed is the Executive Director of Global Talent Initiatives at Asia Society, where he leads the Talent and Diversity Councils in the U.S. and Asia, comprised of Chief Talent, HR, and Diversity Officers from Fortune 500 companies. He also leads Asia Society's Diversity Leadership Forum. In addition, Mr. Reed is responsible for leading the annual APA Corporate Survey and also serves as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. So with that, I'm going to hand it to you, David.
Super. Thank you, Mireille. That was really well done. Now I'm going to have to see if I can meet that or at least meet your great performance. And thank you, Fabian, as well, for your exceptional introduction to the Society, to Asia Society, and to Mireille and myself. So I thought that before I started to speak about the best practices, I wanted to show you this chart. We can go forward, right? This is a chart that was pulled together by LEAP, Leadership Education for Asia Pacifics. And it gives you a very good snapshot of really the challenge that the status of where Asian Americans are today. 6% of the population, U.S. population, is Asian American. And what's interesting here is that the majority, among Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 100 companies and top 100 nonprofits and foundations, the majority of API, the Asian Pacific Americans, let me go right back. All these organizations, the majority have zero representation on their boards. If you go down the left side, you'll see you'll see the stats. And so what we have is a very low percentage of APIs, Asian Pacific Americans, in leadership roles at companies, at foundations, on boards. And this is a big challenge for the community and for corporations. In 2009, we'll just step back a few years, about 24 chief diversity officers asked approached Asia Side, he approached us to undertake the task of creating an annual benchmarking survey to capture the voices, perspectives of Asian Americans at Fortune 500 level companies. They wanted data so that they could act on it. And this data, they wanted to look at where Asian Americans were on the leadership ladder, what stopped them from moving up, and successful practices of companies in developing and promoting Asian Americans. They wanted the actual perceptions, the voices of the APAs, not just the diversity offices. And then they wanted to see these perceptions, and they wanted to see what the diversity officers were doing to compare, contrast, and learn. So we created this national survey with a bunch of companies. And we also created what Mireille had mentioned earlier, our Diversity Leadership Forum, which is an opportunity for all the companies that participate in the survey to come together and learn from the results of the survey and interact with each other to advance themselves, to advance themselves as Asian Americans into leadership. Go to the next slide. So a big part of the survey looks at what are the engagement drivers for Asian Pacific Americans. And the 2015 engagement drivers on the screen, you'll see work life was number 1, professional growth, diversity and APA employee resource groups, the Asian Pacific American market as an opportunity, and commitment to the APA community. And for the purposes of today, we're going to touch on professional growth and APA market opportunity, just to give you a little bit of a flavor for some of the work that comes out of the survey. So let's see if we go to the next slide on professional growth. Going forward. Oh yeah, so it's on the main screen. Okay. So there it is. So on professional growth, the data noted that although 73% of Asian American employees feel their companies provide a wide range of training and learning opportunities, but when asked specifically about programmatic efforts that promote Asian Americans into business-oriented tasks, initiatives promoting leadership skill building, those scores drop dramatically. And when we look at this, it kind of, we then note that what that means is that fewer Asian Americans are moving into leadership and talent's not growing. Some companies are doing better at this than others. Go to the next slide. This next slide shows, so the 2016 APA Corporate Survey, so that's the one coming out next, provides participating companies an opportunity to showcase the best practices they have at promoting Asian Pacific American employees. So when we look at 3 such companies, so Freddie Mac, KPMG, and GE, specifically around best practices on professional growth, Freddie Mac has they and their Asian Pacific American group created an Asian Executive Presence Program, and this is an incredible program that supports their APA employees in advancing their careers through confidence, through executive presence, promoting confidence and growth and development. KPMG has through their Asian Pacific Islander network, established a scalable leadership and professional development offering to assist their chapters across the country in meeting career interests of their members. And GE has a work exchange program that allows their Asian American employees to shadow a particular function, either a half-day program or a full-day program, to shadow a particular function that a said employee would be interested in. And if this is a good fit for them, if it's something they really like, then they're able to advance and work with management on how to be mentored and coached moving forward. And if it's not a fit, then there are plenty of other opportunities that their employees can shadow and try on. So these are 3 examples of best practices under professional growth. Then in market opportunity, so this is something that we spent a fair amount of time this year in the survey and the executive summary. For Asian Pacific Americans, you are the APA market. You and your family have extensive links out to the marketplace. The big question is, are companies tapping you as a critical resource? And let's just hold that thought for a moment, and I'm going to go right to the next slide. So are companies tapping you as a critical resource? This chart talks about, and I think many of us have seen this, the immense buying power of different demographics, but the orange one on the bottom is where the Asian Pacific American market will be by 2018, nearly $1 trillion market. How can you and how can Asian American employees that you work with reap the rewards of this immense market opportunity? Let me show you some best practices of companies tapping into the APA market. So Marriott is, they have, through their Asian American network, specifically tapping into the Indian American cultural background of their, actually they have the head of their multicultural affairs is Indian American, Purva Gandhi, and he and the team created a Indian weddings webinar to teach associates on how to sell to the community Marriott services and do specifically how to do a Indian wedding. And this has been a huge opportunity for Marriott, and they've been reaping the benefits of it across the United States and now around the world. So this is something, and I remember when Apurva was telling me about this before it even came around, and how successful it quickly became. So this is a great example of how one company has tapped into the market very effectively. KPMG has through its APIN, Asian Pacific Islander Network, also taps into the market through their different chapters, working and coordinating with clients to take advantage of business opportunities. And there's so many more best practices that are in the report. So I'm going to the next slide. So let me go. So I guess I just wanted before we go into these best practices are something, and we'll talk about this in a moment, a little bit further along. But this is an opportunity, for companies to get recognized for what they're doing, and for Asian American employee resource groups to get recognized for what they're doing. They are the Asian Americans are the direct ambassadors to the world and to the markets. So how to participate in the 2016 survey. So step one, it's easy. You send an email you express your interest by sending us an email and send it to me to dreed@asiasociety.org. Participation is free, and all participants will receive a top-line report on their own results, their own data, benchmarked against the aggregate. So that's, as I said, that's all complimentary. There are two parts to the survey. There's a company programming survey, a corporate version. So someone from the Diversity and Inclusion Office would complete this part online, providing information on the programs and policies and activities around attracting, recruiting, and retaining Asian Pacific American employees. And so there's a number of questions around that. And then on step 3, there is an employee opinion survey that measures the perceptions of Asian American employees around diversity, employee resource groups, work-life insights, APA market opportunities, etc. Then step 4, for some companies will be chosen as finalists, and we will do a phone interview, to better understand the best practices themselves, because these best practices will be incorporating into the next report. And will also be the finalists, these finalists who best practice winners and award finalists will be acknowledged at our Best Employer Awards at the 2016 Diversity Leadership Forum and Awards Ceremony in New York City, June 9th and 10th. We also acknowledge the finalists in the Wall Street Journal during Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And we, as you can see, myself and others, as we go from conference to conference and speak at different meetings, we really make a point of showcasing these companies and how well they've done in the particular areas that they've been acknowledged for. So a lot of great publicity is what is one of the side benefits. So just real quick, this chart shows the main award categories. So best employer for developing workforce skills for Asian Americans. You can see the specificity for Asian Americans. Best employer for promoting APAs into senior leadership positions. Best employer, best Asian Pacific American employee resource group. Best employer for promoting Asian Pacific American women, etc. These are all credible opportunities to win. And as I said, what's amazing about these is they're specific to Asian Pacific Americans, and there's most of these awards, not all of them, so a few of them, several of these awards are specifically tailored to what the employees say. So the way we do the awarding is 80% of the scoring for the overall best employer, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the top 4 awards here. 80% of the award is based on what the employees say, and 20% is what a judging panel thinks. So there's this 80-20 and how it works. The last 3 award categories are based on what the companies say, and specifically the judges choose. So it's based on essay presentation. These are the best practice companies in the different categories. You can see who's here. The question is can you do better? And that's the real. And I would say yes. There are plenty of opportunities to showcase your innovative practices and the voices of your APA employees. You may recognize a few of the names on the list. And here are the best employers. These are the companies that won the Best Employer Awards and we're runner-ups. So I want to thank you for listening. I encourage you to have your companies participate, of course. As we said before, there is no fee to participate. There's only an upside, and that is you have the opportunity to be chosen to be a finalist, be a best practices company, be an employer of choice for Asian Pacific Americans. However, if you don't participate, then another year will go by. So you have to participate to win. So that's the that really is our presentation, and I think at this time I'd like to open it up for Q&A. So thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Can you hear my voice okay?
We can.
Great. I'm going to start off with one question for you or Murray, and then I'll open up the lines for anyone who'd like to chat with us. I'm going to open up all the lines, actually, since it's a small group, so it won't be terribly unwieldy. David, with this information, how have these organizations that have participated, they have gotten their detailed data, how might they have used this information back at their companies to further enhance their goals and objectives around API talent? Could you share one or two perspectives on that?
Sure. Okay, well, one of the big ones is since they get a top-line report of their data benchmarked against the aggregate, they also can see how, one, depending on the industries, they can look at how they do against certain industries, but they also have their own internal surveys that they're doing, so they can look at how how this measures up against their internal surveys, and that they find that useful. A lot of companies, when inside the Asian American, since this is specific to Asian Americans, it provides something very unusual, where they get to look at a very tailored approach to this particular demographic, and so it gives them this year to year to year benchmark that is very useful. In each of the dimensions, so we spoke about, well, if you take it across the board, in the dimension of attracting Asian talent, in the dimension of recruiting, retention, developing emerging leaders into senior leadership, in each of these areas, the report showcases some actionable activities that companies can take in each of these spaces, specifically for Asian Pacific American employees. So those are some of the things, and then they certainly get an enormous amount of publicity for those companies that are chosen. That's probably, and another piece is they are demonstrating a commitment to the APA community. So they're building, they're demonstrating to the community at large, hey, these companies are actually doing something in support of us, and that creates goodwill. That creates a very a powerful message of acknowledgement that the Asian Pacific American employee matters.
And I would imagine that that job seekers are going to look at this kind of information and perhaps add that as a selection criteria, that if a company like AT&T has such demonstrated success in highlighting, celebrating their Asian talent, that as an Asian talent myself, if I had a choice about it, I might give some extra points to AT&T to go there and be successful.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
a big one. Mm-hmm. That's a big piece that you know, especially when companies are trying to figure out, well, what is it that we need to do? Here are the many different things since the report comes out around retention or recruitment. If they're struggling around this, they get good best practices and suggestions on what they could do to attract talent who's looking at them. And yes, the talent themselves, they're seeing the publicity, they're seeing the acknowledgement in the papers and in ethnic press. Oh yes, AT&T, look at them. And we certainly saw them in the ethnic press during the Diversity Leadership Forum awards on TV, getting their awards. And so yes, that would give that would make potential candidates, they would provide them, oh, these guys obviously they're getting recognized. This is an organization I want to take a closer look at. They're really dedicated to us.
Yes, and case in point, David, just before the call and for everybody's benefit, I'm actually sitting in a hotel room in Dallas, Texas, and it just so happened that in Dallas, the Asian Chamber of Commerce had their have their event in this very hotel today, and a friend of ours, Mohammed Farishi, who represents AT&T and leads the organization for Indian professionals at AT&T. They were actually recognized by the Asian Chamber of Commerce here, and I would imagine that that some of the work that you've done and the recognition that they've had from the Asian Society has gotten noticed by other organizations, picked up by other organizations, and that has led to this experience that I just happen to have run into.
I know that's I'm sure that also happens, and it brings to mind one other piece. The companies, when they win the award, we give them a medallion from an Asia Society special medallion that they put up on the website, saying that they're a best employer for that particular year. They put it in their annual reports. As you know, they want to, because again, this is all this material, all this from investors to potential recruits, etc. This has been very useful.
Very good, very good. I've unmuted the lines, and so let's extend the conversation to some of our friends that have called in. What questions might you have for our two speakers this afternoon? Feel free to speak up, and if you speak first, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. This is Mike Valdez with the Northern Trust Company. Thank you both, David and Marai and Fabian, for putting this together. I know Northern Trust has talked with Asia Society in the past about participation. Can you tell me a couple background pieces, how long you've been providing these awards, and approximately how many participants you have on an annual basis?
I can tell you we've been doing this since 2010. The number of participating companies I can't disclose. There are approximately 2,500.
So last year we saw 35% increase, so we had a total of 2,551 responses, individual responses.
So that was the Asian American employees. And I can also say that there were, how many finalists did we have? There are 11 or 13?
15.
There are 15 companies, Fortune 500 companies, that were acknowledged as finalists last year. And the reason I can't go into the specific numbers, it's due to privacy.
Sure. And you mentioned Fortune 500. Is that a prerequisite to participate?
Well, Fortune 500 level companies.
Okay.
So it may not be a Fortune, it could be a Fortune 1000, but Fortune 500 level companies.
All right.
Well, this is D.A. Abrams. That would have been my question. You know, I work at the United States Tennis Association, which is an association, not a for-profit corporation. So we wouldn't qualify for this, it sounds like.
You're coming in a little bit unclear, DA.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I work for the United States Tennis Association.
Right.
Which is not a for-profit corporation. So the question is, it sounds like really that we would not qualify for participation in the survey. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's you may not qualify because of your size. But I don't know enough about your size. I don't know if you're. I mean, I think that's something we'd have to talk offline because I don't know how you know, if it, because I know you're a network or a federation of, so I'd have to have a better understanding, see if that, what's possible there.
Okay, yeah, we can talk offline.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Would you, or is it Murray who would be available to perhaps present to my executive global diversity and inclusion management to see if we could move forward with this?
Yes, both Mary and I certainly can. We could do it virtually.
That'd be good.
I don't think we could at this point fly in for it.
Okay, not an issue at all.
But happy to go over, you know, some of the key points of the survey and then how, you know, the value of it and how to participate.
David and Murray, Fabian here, at the conclusion of our time together, do you have some sort of an invitation letter or an informational pamphlet in the form of a PDF that you can email to me, and we will make sure we get this announcement and a link of this recording out to our sponsors and see what kind of interest that generates. If you could get that to me,
Sure.
we'll have that distributed as well.
Great, happy to.
Any other questions that you may have? Well, this is very, very helpful. This is the second time that I'm hearing this information, and it's starting to sink in a little bit more. And I see how this is going to be so pertinent for the work that we do at NAAAP, as we engage leaders at the local level. We're finding more and more instances. I certainly am finding more instances where both Asian American associates, as well as their managers. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I attended the Northeast Regional Conference, about 220 people in the city of Boston, and we're finding that more organizations are trying to be more purposeful and strategic in engaging their employees, obviously for Asian professionals as well. And the information that you collect on behalf of these companies and being able to return this information directly back to the companies for their use, I would imagine would only help them be more purposeful about how they're going to focus their energies and resources to help their employees. And for us as NAAAP, it would just please us so much to see over the years how that's going to impact the advancement of Asian professionals to greater levels of influence within the organization. That certainly is is how I'm seeing the fine work that you do at the Asia Society help with this community that we are obviously representing and extremely passionate about. So to you, David and Mireille, thank you. Your comment?
I was going to say you're right on. I mean, I think that as more companies participate in the survey, in the end, it's because we're measuring the perceptions of Asian American employees, and we're showing, the areas that are aggregated, the areas where there are challenges in attracting, developing, and retaining talent, Asian American talent. And then, there are the challenges. Okay, what are the best practices and what are the innovative solutions to address these challenges? And year in, year out, having a regular annual survey that cuts across so many different industries is very valuable, and it can only help the Asian American employee, manager, diversity chief, head of HR, recruitment folks, CEO, advance this population.
Yes, that NAAAP's network of just your national network, and especially your reach into ERGs with the ERG summits and your members. I think we definitely see that synergy there, and it's really great.
And here, I wonder if the work that you do, and as more and more people become aware of the results, I just wonder if that is also going to transform what success looks like in corporate America, and when I say corporate America, I use that term loosely to also include associations like DAs, the USTA, in how we see leaders. I feel that leadership is defined in a rather American or Eurocentric way, and with this survey, it gives a voice to a community that obviously we're only 6% of the United States population, so we don't get heard terribly much, and I think this survey helps to give a voice to a very small portion of this ethnic group, and 67% of us are immigrants, and so we're bringing perhaps a very different edge around leadership. Many of us are trying to flex to cater to the American version of leadership. I just wonder if, as more and more people learn about how Asians lead, that it might stretch and grow the American leadership capability to be more globally, culturally competent. I put that out there as a start of maybe a provocative conversation.
I think it's a very insightful observation, and I think that's it's very likely. I mean, again, every year there are more companies participating. These are, we have some of the most admired companies on the planet participating. They've got innovative solutions. They're working all over the world. Their Asian American employees are all over the world. They're not, not just here in the U.S. And so we get their perspective. It's a fluid, the development and the techniques and in leadership and leading diverse teams and leading as we go each year. Fabian, you're just coming into it this year. Each year we look for the challenging areas. We look at ways of, maybe we should, for the next year, we should add an award or a specific area to focus on, so that the struggles that so many companies might have in a particular area can be enlightened by the folks that have real successes. And it's as I said, it's a fluid in terms of what is a leader. And what is leadership? Yes, Asian Americans, especially given, you know, first generation, second generation, so many different countries represented, so many different styles. I think the Asian American leader can present an advanced way of leadership even today.
Yeah, and I want to echo that and say that more and more we see that data and the quantitative aspect of measuring is really playing a key role in conversations around this, not just for APAs, but for all sections and intersections and so forth. And you know, if the global workforce is keeping your CEO up at night, then you know, start that conversation with some metrics, some data, and you know, if you're able to put that forward in your conversation, I think that really elevates it and brings a little bit of validation, I think.
And that's where the Asia Society and the fine work that both of you do comes in. Ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who have chosen to listen to this recording, this brings us to the conclusion of our Hour of Power Together with David Reed and Murray Bake from the Asia Society. They're based out of New York City. We at NAAAP are so grateful for the work that you do. This is the 6th year in the making. The survey is out and ready and will be out there for the next 3 months. And so we will tell our sponsors about the work that you're doing in the hopes that they will participate and this survey will bring value to their organization. We appreciate this partnership so much. Before I end this broadcast, I ask if David or Murray have any final thoughts.
No, I just want to thank you for that, and thank you for being an excellent facilitator, Fabian. And for the folks on the call, thank you for your participation. We here at Asia Society are very touched, moved, and inspired by your contribution.
And we are
same here. Thank you. And after this power of hour with one another, I feel empowered.
Very good. And we are inspired by both of you as well. Thank you, and thank you all for listening to the broadcast. I will end the recording now.